Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdi, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen, ishpata.
Pakhair agale, ni hao, churushumne, washmale, ohio genzaimis, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifa hal, hale shama chatore, ahlan wasalan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias, suaviab, marhaba, and thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning into PTB World. You watching what this morning alongside the very fantastic, the very amazing, the very super talented Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello, Shiza, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you so much for asking. And how have you been doing
Well,
so
I think
far?
I've been doing great as well. But today, I think it was a great morning for me because I was just by myself early in the morning when I woke up and I was like, there are a couple of things which I don't want to do in my life. And yeah, I was kind of thinking about all of those things as well. But then I was thankful to Allah Almighty for giving us a new start as well, where every
Absolutely.
single day, ladies and gentlemen, we have this opportunity to correct for all of those things which we weren't doing right. And that's what I wanted to do. So there were a couple of things which I might not be able to say on television, which I was doing.
All
And then,
right.
there's this inner calling as well. There's this inner guilt, which actually kind of makes sure that you're on the right track as well. So I kind of thought about all of that. And then I promised myself that, okay, if all of these things I'm going to stop, I probably might find myself peace of mind as well. So this is something which I'm going to do from today onwards, ladies and gentlemen. And if there's something which is hurting you, please make sure that you don't do it too. What about you?
I think it's brilliant, Shazad, because it doesn't happen to a lot of people and it doesn't happen every other day that you do. So it's called Zamir, right? For the Urdu version of
Yeah.
it, right? It doesn't happen every day that people actually do think about the guilt that's eating them from inside of the
Yep.
things, of the bad things that they may have done to people. Of course, unintentionally, of course, right?
No, it wasn't something I've done to people. It's just something I do to
Was it one
myself.
of your habits or something
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
wanted
yeah,
to
yeah.
change? All
Yeah.
right, so it's a good thing, first of all, that you're acknowledging there are things inside you that needs to be
Yeah.
changed. Something positive aspect of your personality, I want to say as
Yes.
well. So I think for this day, I'm going to take this as a lesson and practice it too.
Yeah, and I think that's wonderful as well. And I'm going to give it away as well. For example, I know that it's not nice to smoke as well, so I want to give up on that bad habit
Oh,
of mine as well.
nice.
Yeah, so I was just thinking about it to have a healthier life. You go to the gym, you're really working out, but then what's the point if you're killing yourself by your hands as well? I think that there's no point in it. But it's not just the smoking, ladies and gentlemen. There can always be so many toxic things in your life which you really want to move on from or you really want to get away from as well. One of
Absolutely.
those things in our community, in our society, ladies and gentlemen, is divorce, which is not talked about quite a lot as well. And yeah, it's not appreciated by anybody, God forbid, if you're thinking about it. So people within our own community and society, even if they do not come across as good partners, they will just drag it for the sake of it, for the sake of family, and they won't move on because they haven't been to the other side of the picture. So they really do not know the kind of heaven they're probably going to make it to or the kind of hell they're living in already.
Absolutely. And Shazad, you actually put it rightly, of course. When we talk about divorce, it's frowned upon in our society, but since so many years. I mean, I was actually watching interviews of some very influential people, no names over here, belonging from Pakistan, of course, who said that it's because of the, it's a post-colonial factor and it's because of westernization that divorce is now on the rise.
Yep.
So first of all, if the divorce rate is on the rise, first of all, we have no stats. The last stats we have of the divorce rate are from 2013,
Yeah,
that too by a Gallup
exactly.
survey. So we're not going to believe in the given stats. Secondly, if we were to look at the rising rate of divorces, I realize it's not a thing to be happy about, but can we not just look at the fact that maybe finally people are actually speaking for themselves?
Yeah.
Like Shazad, how you and I often say that the era that our parents belong to and the era that we belong to, it's entirely different.
Exactly.
While, mothers or women from that era would openly accept all their duties or responsibilities that were sort of thrown onto them, of course, coming from patriarchy, that is just another debate.
Yeah.
But lately, women won't do that. They know
Exactly.
their value, they know their worth, and they will probably do what makes them happy, which is why if they're not happy in a relationship lately, they will take a step to abort that,
Exactly.
which didn't used to happen before. So it's not a bad thing, but it's also not an entirely good thing. Where do we draw the line is what we need to talk about today.
Exactly, and not just that, ladies and gentlemen. I think over here in our community, it's always the women on the losing end as well, and we need to change
True.
this mentality, this mindset. And a lot of times, we have talked about it that people really do not. I think it's parents' responsibility to teach their kids, God forbid, if you have to go through a divorce,
Yes.
how you really need to bounce back in life. I mean, for
Absolutely.
women, this is considered that, okay, God forbid, if they're divorced,
It's the
or
end
they
of
might
life.
not get married again, it's the end of their life, they'll have to be dependent and whatnot. Things are changing. We're not saying that, it's important to get divorced. I think that the first solution should always be to sitting down, talking about whatever
Yeah,
issues you
of
guys have.
course.
And God forbid, if you cannot find your resolve, I think that you should move on rather than dragging your life and making it a hell for yourself as well. We're very
Absolutely.
lucky that we've
Yeah.
actually been joined by somebody who happens to be a consultant psychologist. She'll be talking about all of these issues and how to bounce back in life as well. Ladies and gentlemen, she is Miss Sana Khan. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning to both of you.
Walaikum assalam, and thank you very much, Sana, for taking our time. It's wonderful to have you. The topic is very important,
It
but
is.
I'll let Shiza, ask the first question.
Thank you so much, Shazad, because we need to build the conversation on this
Yes.
as well. So before we say a good or a bad to
Yeah.
divorce, we need to understand what the Pakistani family system is. Don't say Islamic or don't say, the area that we belong to. Talk about Pakistani family system. Is there one?
So to start the conversation, I'll say that actually divorce is the most detestable out of all the permissible deeds from Allah, right?
Yes, of course.
But what does it imply? We need to understand.
Yeah.
It means that Allah doesn't like it, but He does
He
not
allowed
forbid
it,
it as
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
right? Why? Because He has created human beings, and He knows that there are some dire situations where it is unavoidable, where it is more damaging than to be constructive.
True.
So that is why we need to see it as something that is actually not seen in a different society or in a Hindu society where it is seen according to their religion, it is kind of not allowed or whatever.
right.
So I think if we follow our religion, it is not that negative. The religion does not actually make it very negative.
It does not.
So it's the society that makes it.
But
True. And even
talking
if-
about religion, I think this is something I've studied as well. That this is the only halal thing which Allah does not like as well. This action of divorce is not like, but this is halal as well, and that everybody's got that right, and there are different rules in place as well. But let's not get into what the rules or the regulations are or how our religion wants us to be. But let's
Right.
just come down to a point where the woman is always at
Yes.
the losing end over here within our own community. May it be anyone's fault,
Exactly.
people will point fingers towards the woman. Now, God forbid if somebody's gone through a divorce, what do you think? How do they really need to think about their life?
Yes. So it becomes, it's not on that person only, it becomes very difficult because society sees it as a very negative thing,
Yeah.
and the collateral damage and the, everything has to be faced by a woman.
Yeah.
Because, if you see the man is not, I'm not saying emotionally he's also at the losing end, but financially, if you see, and the other issues, he's not at a losing end. A woman has to leave the house, a woman has to leave everything. And then the battle of child custody and the battle of, finances and all. The problem with our society, I would say, is that, when a woman walks out of marriage, no matter what the reason is, no matter how serious it is, she is out of the house empty-handed.
Yeah.
So, now she has to think about, it's not just the emotional damage, it is finances, how would she, live her life, how would she lead her life. And then going back to her own family also becomes very difficult. Where you've said that, the kind of statement that two people were making, I also heard them on TV that, this is westernized and all.
Right.
I think it's not westernized, and I sadly have to say that the joint family system that we very proudly boast about is not always very helpful. It becomes really toxic, and it makes life more difficult for couples. So even when a woman who gets divorced or who takes a divorce, there has to be separation between these two terms as well, because I've hardly seen anybody calling a man divorced. A woman is seen as divorced or a rejected part of the society, that okay, a man has divorced her. You would hardly hear this for the man. So when she goes back to her parents' house, now that kind of joint family system makes it more difficult for her. Now the brother has his own life, he has a wife, he has children. Now the parents are also blackmailed into this mentality that that a dead daughter is better than, you know, a live daughter coming back
Yeah,
to them.
absolutely.
Yeah, so the whole setup is, sorry to say, very toxic.
Right. And Sana, maybe because you're a psychologist, maybe you can explain it or look at the underlying causes of it better as well. Where you said that a man is not necessarily labeled
Yeah.
after even he's
Yeah.
divorced. So, to my understanding, it's because of the amount of sorry if I was about to use the word, because of the amount of hardships women have been accepting, not taking, accepting
Yeah.
that even after they're divorced. So, for example, if a divorced woman was to get a rishta, there would be 50 women telling the man, iski talaq hui hui hai. Are you sure? Are you sure?
Absolutely,
And a
absolutely.
divorced man does not get two people together to say कि इसकी तलाक
Yeah.
हुई है इससे शादी मत करना.
Absolutely.
Rather, I have heard people saying he's experienced.
Yeah.
I mean, isn't this
So see,
hypocritical?
Yeah, see the mentality again where you said that, you know, the problem where we all the time talking about patriarchy and misogyny, you know, so that comes and plays a lot of role. So it's very, very difficult, very sad. Still, in this century, you know, women are labeled, rejected,
Yes.
all the collateral damage they have to face, and then the hatred, and I think now it's high time that we start taking it and doing it in a civil way. Why can't you sit, even if they're, you know, old enough, you sit your children down, talk to them, and do it in a civil way. What does divorce mean? You know,
Exactly.
it's
Parting ways.
yeah, it means a parting ways. You know, leaving something
Because
that is
something didn't
bad.
work out.
So what's so wrong about the word? You know.
And you know, I think that this can be done in a very better way as well, and I think that this can be done mutually as well by both the families. It's not really important just because there's so much stigma attached to it. I think people end up on a very harsh note as well,
Very
which is not really important. I think that there can always be a middle way as well, and I think that this is the need of the hour. Because just in the previous year, if you're going to see, you know, because people do take a lot of inspiration from celebrities. We have seen, you know, 4 or 5 couples actually
Yes.
broke up in the previous year.
Yes.
Just because they weren't, you know, happy together, they thought that, okay, it's better to part ways. And it's good as well. But how do you think that we can actually remove this stigma from within our own community and society? Because you happen to be a psychologist, you know how the brain game is going to work. So how do we remove the stigma? Not that we remove it in a way that, you know, it becomes very common, that we're not actually able to save a household if it can be saved. But yeah, how to remove the stigma, just the stigma.
Exactly. First of all, I think we need to understand that two people, if they're happy separated, I think that's very good for a society. You know?
Exactly.
So two people suffering together and you calling it, you know, saving a house is not actually saving a house. It's actually destroying another generation. The
Absolutely.
children who are, you know, in that household and who are facing all this toxic environment are the ones who are going to repeat the cycle, right? So we have to understand that sometimes, and most of the times when it is very toxic, it has to end, and it will be really beneficial.
And it's okay to end it at that time as well.
Actually it is, you know, and again wohi Shehzad wali baat hai, we're not promoting it any way.
I get it.
So yeah, don't understand it that way,
The
that
other
we're
way.
promoting it. We're not. But you know, when it's inevitable, when it's, you know, so bad, so what to do then? The mindset needs to be changed in a way that, you know, first of all, we have to start from when we are, you know, when we are doing the upbringing. So the way we you know, brought up the boys and the girls is very different. So why don't we start making them a little more financially independent, when you'll make them so it has a lot in our society, it has a lot to do with finances, you know, because you're dependent on somebody, and so that not everybody who gets power is, you know, you know, a just person. So people, when they get power, a husband has power, you know, you can't deny it, you know, he has all the power. So he will misuse that power to actually, you know, hold your finances. And also I think financial security, if a woman has it, and when people say there is a rise because of the Western culture, no, if there is a rise, there is a rise because women can earn now, and you don't have to, you know, all the time beg to people. There are instances I see it everywhere. I see clients coming to me, women coming to me, where husbands do not give them any money, you know. So it is, I think finances is the main thing that we need to work on, and we have to make our daughters independent and
Right.
educated enough that, you know, if they have to face this situation, they can go and at least, you know, earn something for
Absolutely.
themselves.
And I think, Sana, I will 100% agree with you here, because this is my understanding of it as well. If it is on the rise, the divorce rate, if it is, it's probably because now women are understanding they are capable of things. But now I'm going to quote you something. This is from 2013, but this is going to talk about the mentality of the people over here. It's a survey that asked youngsters or people who were about to be married of why do they think divorce rate is up. And to mention some of the factors, some said lack of patience, because they're away from religion, Western influence, and women's careers, and lack of men's attention in marriage, interest in marriage. Sorry.
Okay, so thank God they took the name.
But that's the
of,
last, okay? And that's like this
Thank
small.
God,
Only 9
it's
people
so
said
small,
that.
and it's so, you know, it's not
Insignificant.
that
Yeah, but this
insignificant.
is something I'm going to pick up on. Now, the
Yes.
third point you've made over here is the one which I believe is very important, that, you know, when women actually start working.
Yeah.
Now what I'm
No
going to
denying.
say over here is, no, that's not what the point is. What I'm going to say over here is that just because the man has been misusing his authority and has been stopping or not giving the finances to the women or to his wives so that they can lead a happy life, they actually have to step outside the house. Once they step outside the house and they're financially independent, they have their own authority. Now there's a conflict of interest. And now what happens is that, and this is something which I think that has contributed quite a lot to the divorce rate, that the parents were not able to actually kind of samjhaify to their daughters that, okay, you know, even if you're financially independent, you really do not have to make your husband look down upon or something of that sort as well, which is obviously is the need, because the husband who's always been working probably never looked down upon his wife as well. So how do you think that we create a balance that even if you're financially independent, you actually have to be together rather than opting for divorce just because you're financially dependent?
Exactly. So, so it's not said in a way that, you know, if you're financially independent, you should go for divorce, or he's not giving you money. It's not like that. The thing is that when you are working, when a woman goes out of the house, she's not working only outside the house. She comes back home, then she has to work at home as well, right? And then there are many taunts at home that, you know, so you haven't done something really big. Nobody would say that to a man, that you haven't done something really big, you know. Why are you acting tired? I have seen people telling their wives that, you know, you haven't done something big. Why are you trying to rest, you know, when you come back from home? Do this, do that. So then things become difficult. It's not just about, you know, women having money and, you know, the power, and they're misusing it. And then they are actually questioned for so many things, you know, why are you late? You know that at work you can get late, you know. There are so many reasons, but so it becomes really difficult for them to even earn as well. We have to understand that it's not just the independence, but again, you know, I always tell people now that I kind of admit now, and I understand that when, you know, we talk about the culture, the politicians, and, you know, wo jo sara unka ek system hota hai, they want to keep people under them, so they don't. I'm not just talking about politicians. I mean, whoever is in power, wo jo bhi ek culture hai, ya zamindar and all. So they don't let those people get education, right? Why? Because they want to keep them under, you know, control. So for women also, you know, when you don't want them to have any power or any say, you keep them uneducated. So yes, with education, power will come. With education, a lot of knowledge would come, and with education, you would know many rights. You know, you know that this is wrong and this is right. You know,
And Sana, Shazad, in fact, can I tell you something? Because I have a feeling you will not know this. That is why Sana knows this. Where you said, you know, educating a woman can actually bring about a huge change. It basically literally means that. I mean, when we talk about knowledge, it means knowing things. And like Sana said, knowing your rights and knowing where to put a line of this is where, how far I can go in terms of receiving violence, if that is the matter as well. So I happen to be a part of Facebook groups where, of course, girls are together, they discuss different things, ask each other. So more usual than often, someone would come up and post a rishta for their brother or probably for a friend or whatnot. And Shazad, can you believe people explicitly write, we don't want an overeducated girl? explain to me what
Yeah.
an overeducated girl means. If can I say something? I mean, I don't have a son right now, inshallah, but when I do have one, I will categorically look for an educated girl because she knows how to run a generation. Isn't that something you would want?
Yeah, that's beautifully said. But you know what? I think such women are better off without such people who are actually, you know,
Absolutely.
who will get the rishta of educated women and then make their lives miserable.
No,
So
but
it's better
explain to
that
me, what
they
is
don't.
this criteria? We don't want an overly
But
educated.
you know, because then again, you know, then comes the authority, and then comes the knowledge and all. They can't suppress you because you know now you have education, and that is so true. Even in my case also, in generally, I have seen that in life, वो हम कहते हैं ना, ignorance is bliss. Ignorance is kind of bliss
is
because
kind
you
of.
know the more you know, the
It
more it
bothers
becomes
you.
difficult to deal with people. You're like, you know, why are they saying that? Okay, this is why they're saying that, or you know, this
Absolutely.
is the
Tell me
meaning.
about
So
it.
I think
Exactly, that's
it's
true. And
difficult.
I have another point to add on to what actually Shiza and Miss Sana over said, and that is that, you know, probably I think that, you know, half of the time it's not just the guy's choice. You know, when a guy is
Ah,
getting married, it's their
exactly.
family as well. And, you know, they look into themselves in the first
Yeah.
place as well. And if they're like, you know, we haven't been to school, you know, for example, a mother-in-law has not been to
Yeah,
school or a
yeah,
nand has not
yeah,
been to school,
yeah.
they wouldn't really want a bahu who's actually very educated, because
Why?
every now and then they'll feel as if they have been shadowed by
Yes,
her as well.
yes,
And this is the only
exactly.
problem. So
It
it's
makes
never coming
sense.
from the guy.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, for people who are actually more educated, and they make a great combo. You know, if the woman's educated, if the guy is educated, you know, they sit down, they have a very philosophical conversation,
Yeah,
they raise
yeah.
their children really well
Yes,
as well.
absolutely.
So there are benefits of everything as well. But now, one last thing before we wrap up: how to save a divorce?
Yeah, first they have to work on their insecurities,
Okay.
you know, men and women both.
Yeah.
So they have their own kind of insecurities coming from different families, you know, they
Always, yeah.
together there are a lot of
I know.
insecurities.
Yeah.
They need to actually, in Western world, they do take therapy before getting married.
Yeah.
And even when they have issues, they do go to a counselor or a
True.
therapist. So how to stop it? You know, I have come to a point where I've seen such ugly marriages, where I've seen children getting affected for the rest of their lives,
Yeah.
that I've come to a conclusion that, you know, when it is not going well, it's okay to part ways. It's okay to do it in a civil way. We have
Yeah.
seen people doing it in a
Civil
civil
way,
way,
yeah.
you know, on a good note.
Yeah.
That, okay, we have spent, for example, 20 years together, or we
Yeah.
have spent 7 years together, you know, let's part ways on a very positive note. Let's not fight over kids. Children should not be told that your mother is bad or your father
They
is
shouldn't have
bad.
to choose even.
Yes, exactly. The divorce, if it happens, it should happen between husband and
Yeah.
wife.
Wife,
It should not happen between children
100%.
and parents.
Wonderfully said as well. And for everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'm going to mention it as well, that we're not over here promoting, but we were only trying to remove the stigma as well, so that everybody can have a better life. So
Absolutely.
please make sure that if you can sit down, if you can counsel each other, you know, if you can get some therapy, make sure to do that before you decide whether you want a divorce or not.
Absolutely, and like Shazad, I'm actually going to further that note as well, where you said we're not encouraging it. We're definitely not, but where it's needed, do definitely ask for an expert's advice, or evaluate each and every single situation that you're going through as well, because it is definitely a stigma and a label that will stay even longer with the women in our society. It's not a religious thing, it's not a personal thing, it's a societal thing, a social thing rather. And I've even been to weddings where divorced women were not invited because
Yeah.
they would carry a bad energy
Bad
with
omen.
them. But they are a bad omen. They would carry a bad energy with them. I really hope we do come out of this mindset, and I really hope, inshallah, in the years to come, our future generations, or this generation even, understands this thing better. And well, we really hope that none of you has to face it if you don't have to.
Exactly.
Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, because right now we're going to a short break, and when we come back, what are we doing?
Okay, so when we're going to come back, ladies and gentlemen, we're actually going to be in conversation with somebody who's actually a shoulder to all of those women as well, God forbid, who were divorced, who does not have a place to live,
Yeah.
or for that matter, kids who are orphans as well, or people who are really in need of help. So let's see how we can actually extend the hand of help as well, right after a short break. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome back to Well This Morning, ladies and gentlemen, with Shazad Khan and Shaza Hashmi, where, yes, it is a very bright and pleasant morning, but along with that, we're here to learn something, and along with that, we're here to impart something. So in this segment, we're going to talk about, first of all, especially all the women, like you said, who might have had some unfortunate incidents in their life, which is why they do not have access to good health care, or are divorced, don't have enough economy to run their houses, and specifically focusing on the ones belonging to downtrodden segments of the society, or living in the rural areas, which happens to be more than 70%.
Exactly. Thank you very much, Shiza, for pointing it out very rightly as well. And ladies and gentlemen, I think that we really need to be concerned about the health of the 70% population of Pakistan as well, because whenever it comes out to rural areas, there's always shortages of doctors, nurses, or for that particular matter, I think that they're not even hospitals within the reach of all of those peoples as well. So, all they have to do is come down to the cities to get themselves treated, and God forbid, if there's an emergency, we lose a person rather than saving them as well. So we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who happens to be a social activist, a philanthropist as well. The foundation itself has a bigger name for the kind of services they have provided to all of those people who are in need as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by Muhammad Bashir Malik Sahab as well. Hello, sir. Assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Wa alaikum salam. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you very
Thank
much,
you
sir,
very
for
much.
joining us. And Bin Qutb Foundation is literally making Pakistanis proud wherever we go, sir.
Thank you.
Because of the kind of services you provided to the people in need as well. And this time around, you're focusing on the health of people who live in rural areas. So to get started with that, what are the most common challenges you're facing right now, and how's the situation within the rural areas?
Thank you very much. I think there are many, but we shall focus, let's say, one or two, which are major.
Okay.
Number one thing is that the hospitals in a rural area are not to the mark.
Yeah.
70% of the population of Pakistan is in the rural area, and 30% is in the towns, in the cities. On the government side, the budgets most of the budgets, so it's designated for the cities,
Okay.
and rural, it's very, very less, maybe 10%, not more than that.
Okay.
On the other side, the hospitals itself, whatever they are, and in whatsoever condition these are, on the public sector side, they are not well equipped
Okay.
and not as managed as it should be. And the private hospitals in the rural area are just not available. They are not there. The reason being because the private hospital is run by some commercial entity, and their purpose is to gain the results. And if they establish the hospital in the city, there are more chances and they are more successful. But in the rural area, the challenges are such that the commercial hospital, when I say hospital, means real big facility,
Right.
where they get everything under one roof. So the challenge for them again is that the human resource,
Okay.
the doctors, the nurses, the paramedics, they are not available. And if they are mostly intend to serve in cities because they are in big demand.
Of course.
We are short of doctors, we are short of nurses. So these are the challenges. But at the same time, then what should be done?
Exactly. So I'm going to come down to this as well. I have to, further this note as well, because just yesterday I was watching news. And there was this gentleman from Mandi Bahawaldin, Raj Bakhtiar Gondal, who was protesting for the people of Mandi Bahawaldin, because there used to be a THQ hospital earlier, but it was moved away from the city at least 8 or 9 kilometers as well, and then they wanted it for Mandi Bahawaldin as well, because it's a big city now. Now, imagine that facilities which are being developed are moved away from the people so that it is convenient for somebody else, or probably somebody who's in power, or somebody who's in authority as well. What do you think needs to be done now, and what is the way forward? Because Bin Qutb Foundation, we know for sure that you're making a few hospitals, alhamdulillah, within or all across the country. But this, do you think that only it's the Bin Qutb Foundation's responsibility to do all of this as well? Because the government needs to step in the game.
Yes, it should be the government, but unfortunately, the facts on the ground are different. The government is not there.
Okay.
And who's going to do? In fact, there are many civil societies, organizations, trust, foundation. They are too busy in the cities.
Exactly.
But at the same time, then I say, then the people living in rural area, what's their fault?
Exactly.
They are the equal
Right.
citizen of Pakistan. So in the rural area, I always suggest to the friends and everywhere, wherever I go, number one, that the civil society, basically, foundation and trust and welfare organization, they should focus more on the rural side.
Okay.
Difficulties are there. There are various difficulties. I mean, human resources, one, the doctors aren't available. But the question is, should we leave that all those living in the rural area, let them die? No.
No, of course not.
My mother died 40 years back in Chakwal, and that was the day I thought about it. And we have put up a big category hospital in Chakwal. We have one more in Gujar Khan, we have in Mansehra, we are building in Jhelum, we are building in Kevada. So, but then again, based on this, that the civil society should go, I think they won't be so successful till such time the natives, persons who were born in the rural area, and then they shifted to other cities,
Right.
let's say Lahore, Karachi, Islamabad, wherever, even overseas, and they are established. But they belong to those districts where they were born.
Yeah.
So I say that civil societies and the natives,
They
they
have a
should join hands.
responsibility.
In our case, in Binkuda Foundation case, yes, we did the same.
Yeah.
I mean, I was born there, and then in the cities, all the businesses and everything. So I had to go back, and then I called others, friends, civil societies, corporate sector, come and do it.
Right.
So the natives should be coming forward. That's the solution.
I
I
agree
mean, let the government be aside, whatever they are doing,
All right.
and still there are lots of gaps.
Of course. And so while, first of all, I have to really appreciate the fact that you as a philanthropist go back to around 40 years and you actually took a step to serve your community. Mashallah, that is great. But I would beg to differ over here when you say that the government might not be doing anything. It's for some reasons, and I'll try to explain it. So for example, in terms of provision, there are supposed to be public care hospitals, or there's supposed to be BHUs in the regions, which do exist, but like you said, no human resource.
Yeah.
So doesn't that fall back to, rather than us questioning the health ministry, doesn't that fall back to that local person over there who is the head of the district, to why they're not providing those facilities over there? And where you said that only 30% of the population lives in cities, do you believe, ladies and gentlemen, of the healthcare force, 90% of the force caters to that 30%, and just the 10% now goes back to rural areas?
Exactly.
This was actually a year back or even more, that the government came out with the health card as well. So these are some of the few
That's
steps
us,
that the
yeah.
government is doing. Do you think it is feasible for them to continue with this? Do you think it is sustainable?
It's a good step. It's a very, very good step.
Yeah.
Like in Chakwal, they have given around 1.5 lakh,
Okay.
1,500.
Right.
15,000.
150,000.
Yeah, 150,000
Yes.
cards to the needy. But question is, where are the hospitals?
What does that entail? So if you have a card, what does that mean?
That means that every family, depending upon the number of persons, the facilities available for them in any private hospital, ranging from 300,000 to maybe 7,000, like that.
Okay.
But it is only for the inpatient. It's not for a normal, fever or something.
Okay.
You got to be admitted in any hospital, and the surgeries are performed,
Okay.
and the other things which are treated within the hospital.
Okay.
But question is, there are no hospitals.
Exactly. So where are they going to take the card?
That makes sense.
And
yes.
on top of it, the cards are given to the poor, and there's no hospital in the rural. So
What do they do with the card?
should they come to the cities? Again, it's a big cost for them.
True.
Exactly, that's true. And just yesterday, Shiza, I was in conversation with a few of my people, and there were a few journalists who were actually sitting at my place there as well. And we were having a debate about why should we pay tax. I mean, I know it's important for any country and the people of that country to pay tax, But this is something which, okay, for example, if I am to compare it with people or the rest of my family members who live in the UK, God forbid if they're elderly, they're going to get a place to live. God forbid if they do not have money to eat food, the government's going to pay them.
Yeah.
Their education is for free, their vaccination is for free, their medicine is for free. So all of these things. So whatever amount they're paying for tax, at least they're utilizing it as well. Now, my question to you and sir to you is, I know that I shouldn't be doing this, but I think it is for the awareness of people out there as well. Why should I be paying tax when I do not have free education, when I do not have the right schooling for my kids as well, when I do not get what I'm actually supposed to get from the government, that kind of support, that kind of facility? Why should I be paying tax? Rather, I should be paying that amount in zakat or sadaqah. What's your take on this?
Well, every citizen has to go along with the law.
Yeah.
Of
The
course.
law says you pay the tax, you must pay the tax.
Okay.
So your part is done.
Okay.
On the other side, then it comes to the government, they should facilitate. I think we should not forget that the resources in your country are not that much.
Yeah.
So, and the other thing is that they are somewhere mismanaged.
Why is the tax too much then?
So much. I mean, even if when you get your pay, there's a tax cut, okay? If you go to buy grocery, there's a tax
There's a
cut.
tax cut.
You're using the road, there's a tax cut. You're buying milk, there's a tax. I mean, where do we go?
Okay, but by paying the taxes, you expect that the government should serve you,
Yeah.
whether you are in the city or in the rural. This is one thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But when it is a civil society, they just do not argue whether the facilities for the human beings should be done by government or whatever.
Okay.
The civil society activists, this social activists will only go for the solution.
Yeah.
So to me, if you ask about the taxes, yes, by law you have to pay the tax, you pay the
Right.
tax.
Yeah.
On the other side, you pursue your government, whatever,
Yeah.
and all the governments are same, by the way.
True.
They are all same.
There's a formula you have to run the country, of course.
Yeah, but on the other side, being a civil society activist and going to the rural again,
Yeah.
that's my focus, to bring a solution. So we only work for solutions. The solution I suggested that the natives of those villages where they were born, they have now been established in Pakistan and various other cities, even overseas. They should pay back to the society where they were born.
Yeah.
But there's one thing,
Yeah.
they individually they cannot. They have to go through a platform.
Okay.
I mean, somebody's got money, he well established, and he want to have a hospital put up in his village, maybe in Sargodha, by the way.
Yeah.
How can he do it? We need an establishment, some platform, some foundation, some trust, and again the coordination with the local people.
Yeah. That's
So we should focus on solutions. I mean, when I'm concerned, we should focus on the solution, and natives is one of the idea they should pay. And there are many. Like we are building hospital and operating hospital. There are many attached to us now.
Yeah.
And they are paying back. And now they are asking that, okay, we provide you the facility. You put up a hospital in my district.
Nice.
We are working on 3-4 more hospitals this year. So maybe
Amazing.
by end of year we'll have a network of 10 hospitals.
Wow.
And most of them who are supporting, who are donating, who are participating with us with Bingoda Foundation, they are mostly natives. I mean, they are living, they are doing businesses in the cities, but they are well enough, good enough, and
I
they are well
support-
off, and they are supporting.
Wow.
That's
So
a-
the solution is you cannot leave the public, they kept dying,
Exactly, that's true, sir. But now I have a very valid question to pose, and that is that since you're making all of these hospital, so that we can actually provide health care to the families of the rural as well. Now the first thing which comes to my mind is that okay, developing a hospital, that's fine. People are donating to Bin Qutb Foundation. You have a name to yourself as well, and with Bin Qutb Foundation is a very household name in terms of talking about whether the donations are being used rightfully or not. Now, don't you think that it is a challenge for you to get all the doctors on board as well, so that they can come down and work in a rural area hospital? Because in today's world, it's all about commercialization. It's all about making more money. It's we're going in the wrong direction. I'm sorry to say that,
No,
but that's
that's
how it
true.
is. The consumption behaviors are different. So how challenging it is for you to get the staff, the nurses trained, the good doctors, so that they can be there and they can provide good health care to all of those people we worry about, or you worry about.
Where
Yeah,
you
it's-
already said that HR is an issue.
It is a huge, big issue.
Yeah.
The doctors, the numbers in country are not that much.
Yeah.
We need more doctors and nurses. We do have, yes, you're right, we have big challenge. But what I say that whatever the challenge is, the job is to be done.
Yeah.
If you have to serve,
Kaam karo bas.
calm karo. And then what you do is that you work 10 times more on the project.
Yeah.
You have to search around, go meet the people, meet the doctors, explain them. It's an ongoing process.
Yeah.
Ultimately, when you see, like in our hospital in Chakwal, which is it's in my mother's name, Begum Noor Memorial Hospital, and it is right in front of her kabar. Big hospital. It's first class, A category approved hospital by Punjab Healthcare Commission. So when I say during last 5 years, around 2.5 lakh, 250,000 patients have been through the hospital. It gives you relief, and again, you love to work then.
True.
The human resource, you have to go after them, explain them, bring them, and there are lots of
Bazi.
difficulties, but you have to manage.
Yeah.
You have to manage.
And I think it is the true will as well, and it is the true intention that leads you forward as well. Where you said that, mashallah, more than 250,000 people have now been to that one branch of your hospital. It's
These are
amazing.
the patients who have been treated over
Who have
there.
been treated. Wow, that's amazing. But sir, don't you feel like now where you identified that engaging the community or social mobilization is the way forward? Now this is your answer to the solutions that we need, right? So if you were to talk to the entire, population watching this show right now, and especially to the youngsters or people belonging to the healthcare sector, what would you say to them in order to probably make them a part of this whole movement?
This good. I think we have lots of volunteers, and they are mostly youth,
Okay, which is a good thing.
which is a good thing. We
Yes.
need it, and which is a good thing. On the other side, to the youth, when they have to adopt a profession, so it's a big need in the country. There's a big gap. So it's good that they adopt the medical profession in any way, from doctor to nurses to any other courses.
Okay.
And you see, there are two things. One thing is that should we leave all the problem to be solved by the government, or a civil society comes in, and whatever the problems and challenges are, they work, they finish, they deliver. So this is the way.
Yeah.
Right, right.
And I think the government should be on the facilitation part.
100% yes.
They should be facilitating those civil societies who can do a lot in the rural area. And Binguda Foundation is, alhamdulillah, well.
It's well recognized
Exactly.
of its efforts
Yeah.
as well.
We are committed. We are committed for the rural healthcare.
And that's wonderful.
So on one side, the government, whatever the government is doing, they can do, they should do. But yet there is and there will be a big gap.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
And the gap in the rural area is not, I can explain 2-3 points. The gap in the rural area, which should be focused by any civil society and the government, is the surgeries,
Exactly.
the mother and child problems.
So basically,
Accidents.
secondary healthcare is actually the main
Exactly,
issue. Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
So that should be focused, whosoever wants to come, and they should come and serve the humanity in the rural area. So these are the gaps where they should work.
And that's wonderful as well. And sir, we wish you best of luck, that you're on a mission and that you accomplish whatever you have in your head and in your heart as well, because we really need people like you who feel for all the people out there as well. Thank you very much
Thank
for
you very
joining
much.
us. It was
Thank
wonderful to have
Thank
you.
you.
And we want to share the same vision and the same mission with you as well, which is why we're readily available for whenever you want to come on the show as well,
Thank
sir,
you very much.
because this will be our contribution towards the humanity as well. So ladies and gentlemen, please make sure that you write to us on our Facebook page, which is with the name of
Well this morning.
on Twitter,
Well this morning without a G.
on Daily Motion and GTube.
It is well this morning, but you have to look under the PTV World channel.
Exactly, and the fabulous repeat's going to be at
5 past midnight tonight.
till the next time. 1, 2, 3. Good morning.
Take care.